Hey everyone, welcome to the latest episode of The Main Cut. I am one of your hosts, Jade, and I have our amazing co-host, Cataanda, who's also our head of education at The Main Hookup. How's it going? As usual, this week we will be bringing you kind of the latest conversation, or one of the things that we're really interested in talking about, which is hair policing, but not from outside of our community, but from within it. So hair policing within the Black community. So what happens when we are all concerned about each other's hair and not just our own. Because a lot of it happens, I'm sure that there's a lot of reasons why, and we're going to go into that. And it's not necessarily about coming up with a solution for it or saying this is how we fix it, but more so understanding why it happens, how we can kind of protect ourselves or be mindful from doing it to other people. And then, like I said, there's loads of different ways that it can happen. So, I mean, Cataanda, what are some of the different ways that you've seen people's hair being policed?
Even mine, I see people a lot of times where I could say a lot, ask a lot, offer them a lot, and I just don't, because there's a time and a place for it. And I feel like we're just always concerned with someone's hair. Like, if you're scrolling social media, these memes, or not memes, but these reels of people, sometimes they're hairstylists, and then sometimes they're just content creators, I guess. And have someone that created a reel, like a video, and is it a remix where you come on there and then you're reacting to the video?
Yeah.
And they're on there talking about how the stylist may have styled this person's hair, or how this person is wearing their hair, or it could be like a do-it-yourself DIY video. And they're giving I don't even know. A lot of times I don't even know if it's constructive criticism. Criticizing, also talking about whatever is going on in the video, and not necessarily in a way to where they are, being as kind as they should, not really doing it to educate anyone. They're just doing it, I think, to get clicks and likes and to make a mockery of the person. That's when I'm just like, really, you're a content creator, but do you really have to create this type of content? Like, you're a hairstylist. Why don't you create content of your own styling techniques rather than making mockeries of people? And some of those people, I'm just like, sis or bro, your hair don't look any better. So why are you even on here? I just feel like it's something that we do, like you said, to each other. And it's sort of like black on black crime. Like, we're doing it to each other, but then we're offended and we're all upset and our pennies are in bunch, and other races are doing it to us. I don't know. I just don't think it's nice. I don't think it's kind. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm scrolling sometimes, or I'm in the mall or the store or on the plane or airport or whatever sometimes, and I'm thinking to myself, what in the world is wrong with her or his hair? But am I gonna make a whole video about it, or am I gonna go up to the person and be like, girl, why you come to the airport with your hair like this morning? No, I'm not gonna do that. It's sort of like when they were wearing the bonnets in the airport, and the comedian Monique took it upon herself to say, y'all shouldn't be wearing these bonnets in the airport, which I agree. However, is it my place to tell them? Because I feel like there's some things that Monique shouldn't be doing either, but she should be doing them.
I mean, I think there's a fine line between having an opinion on something generally. Like, if you're generally saying people, bonnets are for home, they are for home, they are for bedtime, or when you're going into the shower and you don't want to get your hair wet because it's not wash day. They have a purpose, and it is not to be taken outside of your house. Then you're speaking to people generally.
Yes.
Whereas I feel like policing is like specifically cornering a person. And maybe,
Exactly.
somebody could, if people disagree with that, then they're welcome to. But I feel like there's also like there's so many different ways that our hair is already policed, and the way that people will either criticize or look for opportunity to say, oh, it should be different or it could be different for X, Y, and Z
Mhm.
reason. And yet there are debates on, we've spoken about this before, but straight versus natural hair. There's like length policing where it's like, oh, that your hair is too long for it to be your real hair, that has to be weave, or that has
Mhm.
to be a wig. Or being told that there are certain colors that do and don't look professional. There's a weird thing where people are very anti, like black people or people of dark skin having blonde hair. I don't know where
Mhm.
that comes from, but that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and then things like locks, being told that locks look unprofessional. And so there are so many different ways in which people are constantly telling each other that their hair shouldn't be that way. And part of it is, okay, when did you believe that you had the authority to tell somebody? Unless somebody's asked you for your opinion, be like, what do you think of this? At that point,
Exactly.
they asked you for your opinion, so you can give your opinion kindly.
You can give
But
your honest
they
opinion.
ask for your opinion and you're within your rights to then give it. Um, but it's very different when people are saying, I've actually been guilty of doing that once. It was when, albeit this is when I was in school. Um, and one of my friends, I was like, "Has your hair grown, or is that weave? I can't tell."
Oh.
And we were teenagers, and she would never let me forget it to this day. But not because she was offended, because she was like, "There was a really cute guy in front of us in the queue, and you had to go and say that."
Oh my gosh.
To this day, she does not let me live that down. Um,
Oh.
so like again, I'm not gonna say that I haven't been guilty of saying some of those things in the past, but it does happen.
Yeah.
And it's like some of it is what we expect of other people's hair. Like to some degree, we expect
Mm-hmm.
people's hair to be shorter, not longer.
Yeah.
Um, and to some degree, we expect people to love their natural hair so much that they wear it out all the time and they don't straighten it or they don't wear
Mm-hmm.
wigs, and we assume that if
Mm-hmm.
somebody constantly straightens their hair or chooses to wear wigs and weave, that they don't like their natural hair. And a lot of it is like
Mm-hmm.
we're making assumptions about somebody's character when we don't actually know if that's how they feel.
Yeah.
Um, and there was all of the who was it? It was Blue Ivy, wasn't it? When she was like really, really young,
Mm-hmm.
like not quite baby young, but young child young.
And those were beyond the hair police. They were the hair FBI. Okay. The FBI or the CIA. I don't know which one.
Yeah, and I'm just like, she's a baby, and respectfully, her hair is now probably longer than most people, so they couldn't
Oh,
have done much wrong.
it
Um,
definitely is.
but again, that's the thing, right? Is that people felt like they had the right to have an opinion about her hair and the way that it looked and the way that they were supposedly not looking after it properly. But the reality is now she's what, a young teenager? She's like what, 14, 15 now? Like maybe she's a bit older.
I think she's only 13.
Okay, yeah. So she's
12, 13. I think she's
so
13.
yeah, like, young teen. She's a young teen now, and her
And
hair is
her
like
hair is
past
amazing.
her past her mid back.
It's amazing.
And looks, I mean, obviously I don't know personally, but looks pretty healthy to me. So it's a question of like, why do why is there so much of it coming from within our community? Again, we go to workplaces, we go to schools, there are people playing sports. We've seen it happen to Venus Williams when she was told to take the beads out of her hair, and that's like the top of the top, one of the best in history. It happens across the board in all of these different spaces. It happens in television and film and modeling. There are already all of these spaces that have something to say about our hair.
So
And
why are we saying it to each other?
yeah, why are we doing it to each other when it feels like that's an unnecessary added pressure?
Mm-hmm.
and it can happen from so many different angles. Like literally any type of hair that you wear, whether it's your
It
natural
doesn't
hair or your,
matter.
someone somewhere will have a problem.
Is going, yes, they're going to say something. They're going to have a problem with how you wear your hair. That's for sure. I think that, like you said, a lot of it comes from the person's own expectations.
Mm,
So that's one of the things, or it comes from how they feel about their own hair.
mm.
I mean, like within themselves, like, okay, my hair won't grow past my ear, so no one's hair grows past their ear. It has to be fake if it's past the ear. I think it's something within. I think that some people are also, I don't know what you call it, but it's sort of like how some people, even within our own race,
Mm.
is they're colorists. So certain
Mm.
color type. So then it's certain hair type. Maybe hairless. I don't know the word or the term for it. I don't think there is one, but I feel like people are prejudiced toward certain things, and if you look a certain way, it looks as if your hair shouldn't be that long, but it is, and it's your natural hair, or vice versa. Your hair is very long, so now you can't be black. You have to be of mixed race,
Yeah, you have to be mixed with something,
something. And
and
I used to
the,
get asked that question all the time. This is way before, there was this natural hair. I don't know if we call it a movement now because it's just this is what it is. But
mm,
back then, no one was really wearing their hair natural.
mm,
So when I would wear my hair curly, most people were wearing their hair straight, even if they were natural, but they were straight natural.
right,
And then when I would straighten my hair, shrinkage is real. And this is, I think I talked about this. We talked about this before. Maybe it was like on either a podcast where we were talking about hair judgment or something.
yeah,
And I was working at the mat counter, and I would wear my hair just like sleek, very straight, no bend,
mm,
no bump, none of that. I hated it. When I wear my hair blown out, silk press, it is just straight, like sheer straight. So
mm,
I think now they're calling it middle part bust down, something something. Anyway, that's the look. That's the look. And so these girls, when I talk about hair policing, they girls, women, and it was never the other people. It was always the black women, the black girls. Her hair is not real. Look at it. I would just be flipping this hair all over the counter, and my hair was really long then. Um, and before it used to bother me because I had gotten this all my life, like from little girl up.
mm.
So people would trigger you. So I can't say initially when I first started, it was a huge trigger because they would have full on conversations. I'm not
Watch
even
the
having
standing
friends at
there,
the counter. It would be women that just met up at the counter and now they're discussing and policing my hair.
whole conversation.
And I would just be like, this is so crazy. So I would lay it on thick and I would be flipping. I would be running my fingers. Oh, you wanted an old baby? And oh, you wanted a chestnut liner? And I'd just be doing all this. And they would get so mad. And my coworkers would be like, Cataanda, this is so funny. But it was just ridiculous. So again, and I'm just the person, like, just ask the question. That's hair policing too, and it's inappropriate to ask someone about, is that all your hair like you did with your friend? But
Mm.
I would have much rather that than them having 10, 15-minute conversations about my hair not being real when my hair was very real. So I don't
It's,
know.
it,
It's
like you said, it's kind of part of it is the expectation of what people think is real, and then there's also, I feel, when it comes to length, a lot of it is length is such an objective for so many people, and it's like length at all costs. So it's something that a lot of people struggle with when it comes to length retention, that they just assume that because it's their struggle, that it's everybody's struggle, or the majority of people struggle. And the only time that they believe that they think it's believable is if they believe that somebody is mixed. Because they're
Yes.
like, oh, that explains why their hair grows so quickly or why it grows so
Yes.
long. Like, that's the
So
explanation
long.
that they've created in their head. That's the acceptable explanation, right? So then they don't
Yes.
really question it.
Yes.
Um, so it's like there's this expectation of what to see lengthwise, depending on what you look like. And then there's also sometimes, like, some policing can seemingly come from I say, a good place, but I find it with people from older generations where they had to deal with things that we just don't necessarily have to deal with as much. Not that any of it has disappeared. But I do remember when I had first started growing out my natural hair, and I went to visit family, and I had my hair out, mini, probably very similar to the way that it looks now, tied up with a head, partially with a head wrap. And my family was like, "So when are you gonna go and get your hair done?" I was like, "It's done. It's done. It is. I did it, and it's fine as it is." But I don't. It's as much as it feels frustrating sometimes. Like, it comes from a place of when they were my age, this was not a thing. They would not have gone to work with their hair out. They would have gone to work with their hair not even in braids. It would have been relaxed, blow dried, like what we now call
Roller
a
set.
silk pressed, roller set. It would have been some form of straight, even if it was still their natural hair, or it would have been chemically straightened, and that would have those were the options. Those were the acceptable options when you wanted to work in what were people deemed as like a professional setting. So that's more like generational trauma of this is what it was back in their day. So the
Mm-hmm.
expectation is that we still have to do it
Mm-hmm.
now. So again, sometimes I think it can come from a place of, oh, I don't want you to experience what I experienced. And that's not a
Yeah.
bad thing. Um, but then sometimes it outright comes from unreasonable or not unreasonable. Um, it comes from expectations that are just to do with what people have experienced themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you can tell the difference between the two because it feels like a very different conversation.
Yeah.
One of them is, oh, it can't look like that. That can't be what it is because, it could never, which is very judgmental and almost saying that they can't possibly look that good themselves
Mm-hmm.
without something enhancing it
Mm-hmm.
versus, are you sure you want to wear your hair like that? Because I don't want you to go through any problems when you're at work or you're at school or when you're competing as a. So again, it's a very different energy.
Mm-hmm.
Neither are helpful, but one of them is actually coming from a better place.
Yeah. A place of, I feel like, protection, like a
Y-
protective sort of
Yeah.
versus, yeah, I understand what you're saying. That I actually agree with that. Just because they're, I mean, it's getting better. However, we do still see, like, especially with locks,
Mm,
the young guy that kept getting suspended from school.
yep.
I think it was a couple years ago, but it was happening consistently because he had locks.
Yeah.
Um, so I think when we know these things are happening, okay, just don't lock your hair then, because it'll prevent
Mm,
you from being, like, excluded, and it'll prevent you from being, the outcast and called out, suspended from school, and things like that. But no, because we can wear our hair however we want to. I feel
yeah.
like we, so during the Black Panther movement, they were wearing and rocking those froze with Black Power. They
Mm,
were proud, and they were proud of their texture, but they were called rebels and things like that. But I mean,
mm,
this is the way our hair grows out of our scalp, so
yeah.
we should not be ashamed. However, older generations, I was laughing because my grandmother, if she was alive to this day, that would be hilarious because she would be like, "When you gotta go comb your nappy hair?" But that's because she comes from,
Mm,
like that era. But also, her hair looked much different. She had very, very long hair, it was loose. It was like wavy, so like a loose wave.
Oh,
And, her children, most of her children had that hair. Then there was one, I'll say one and a half, because my uncle almost had it, but not all the way.
okay.
He was more like, I'd say, the 4A ish, but my
Okay.
aunt was straight up 4C, and everyone else was like 3A, 3B, 3C.
Mm.
Um, and so, and this is probably part of the reason why I don't like the word kinky. Like, I'm not referring to anyone's curls as
Oh,
kinky,
interesting.
because from those times back then, and particularly from my grandmother,
Mm.
kinky was not a good word in our grandmother's home. She would be like, "Your hair is too kinky. You need to comb it. Well, what you gonna do with that hair?
Oh,
You gonna comb your head today? You gonna run a brush through it?" She used to say all those things. I mean, she was an ultimate like hair policer, but it was, again, not. It was part of her expectation. It wasn't what she had been familiar with.
mm.
It wasn't what her parents had. It wasn't what she had. It wasn't what her brothers had. And then she had these
Mm.
children, and most of them didn't have it. And then when the grandchildren came around, it was more of those kinky heads than it was the other heads. And she'd be like, "Girl, you got that hair from your daddy," or "Girl, you got that." It was a big thing. So I really, really, like, I grew up with that. So, which is why I'm very careful
Mm.
about how I'm speaking to someone about their hair. And not only that, I'm a professional. So I can't make you feel bad about it. My friends know, my clients know.
Mm.
I will, ease up to having the conversation to the point where, like, finally I'll get to the point where I'm like, "Now, why did you do that?"
Mm.
You came at the house like this. But this is like when they're in my chair and I'm about to do their hair. So,
Yeah.
but in that, even in the chair, I'm still very careful, because it's our hair, especially Black women, and I'm finding Black men too.
Mm.
Um, we're very sensitive about our hair,
Yeah.
and rightfully so. So, I feel like you have to, you know, when you are offering advice, when you are just remember, sometimes your opinion or your advice is not warranted. So keep it to yourself until the time is right or the place is right.
Yeah.
But we have to be very careful how we have that conversation, because everyone's sensitive. I used to be sensitive about my hair because I was all, she must be mixed because she has those different curls.
Mm.
And I'd be like, I'm not mixed. My mother is Black and my dad is Black. Like, well, somebody in your family is mixed. Someone in your family is mixed too. You just couldn't get, you just couldn't get that part of the hair, because we're over here as African Americans, honey. Someone in your family is mixed too. Like,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is a crazy thing. So yeah.
No, I think there's loads of, like you said, there's different reasons that people end up doing it, but there's what you said about locks, I think is really interesting because funnily enough, a lot of the time when, people are told that their natural hair I would say in this day and age, not maybe
Mhm.
way back when people say, oh, you should be able to go to work with your natural hair or with braids or with this or with that. I think
Okay.
it's only recently that even within our community, people have started to ease off locks.
Mhm.
Because I think even within our community, people are like, don't get your hair locked. Like that was not really a thing in my opinion until more like in I would say the past 5, 6, 7 years that there
Mhm.
have been more people that have been openly getting their hair locked and b not think not caring for whatever the consequences could be of it. Not that there should be consequences, but sadly there still are in some places, even though there
There
shouldn't
are.
be. There was also that young boy, I can't remember his name, in the States who was wrestling in high school and then he was
Mhm.
forced to shave off his locks during a competition because they wouldn't let him compete. And I'm like, but he had to get to the competition, so he had to compete in order to get there. And
Mm-hmm.
he clearly had done that with his locks. So why is it at this competition, this championship, he miraculously had to shave off his head? It
That's
doesn't make sense,
abuse.
you know?
Yeah, that's abuse. I
Yeah.
don't know what type of abuse, but that's abuse, especially having to do that in front of every like that. That's so bad.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. So it's I think that that's interesting that that perception is changing internally, where
Yeah,
people are feeling more comfortable saying, "Yeah, get your hair locked," as long as you're happy to for it to be like that for a long time until you want to shave it off again, because it's difficult. It's a thing that's difficult to undo once it's been done. Um, but
yeah.
like, there's also comments that people make, right? When people say things, "Oh, but you look better with your hair straight."
Oh, I was not gonna go there today. I was not gonna go there today, but I actually had a guy tell me that, and I
No.
was like, dude,
Oh no.
yes.
Oh no. Not
You
unsolicited
look
opinions and bad ones
specifically
at that.
that's exactly what he said. You look better with your hair straight.
Oh,
I
that
mean, it
is
wasn't like I wasn't dating the guy, but it was like a family member of a friend, and he was trying to like push up on me, and I was like, dude, you will never get a conversation after that comment. You will never ever get a conversation again. You look
that's
better with your hair straight. Who says that? A lot of
people.
people say it.
You know, that's along the same lines of, oh, you're really pretty for somebody that's like dark skinned or something like. It's
Exactly.
along those like, why would you? Why?
It's a backhanded. They call it backhanded compliment.
We all
And
do.
let him have it in a very nice way.
Mm.
And he continued to beg for my attention, and he never got it because, dude, if you're saying something like that to me,
That was
you are very inappropriate. That's like so inappropriate. But
it.
people do say it. I feel like with locks, people, since it's become really popular now. So I had
Mm,
family members that had locks like years when locks weren't popular
yeah.
amongst everyone, especially in different regions. And they grew up on the East Coast and they had locks and all that. And my grandmother again, she'd be like, not now when you're gonna comb your nappy head, but when are you gonna wash your dirty hair?
Oh dear.
So it wasn't really understood, but I feel like it's a people are now speaking about more of the cultural story behind locks and why it's done and where it originated from. And
Mm,
then now locks have become so popular. I feel like, but we're doing really cool styles with them. So you can have your hair locked, but you can wear the styles that we're wearing when our hair is free flowing.
yeah.
So I think that's another thing. But also I feel like people are finally getting to the point where they're like, I'm gonna do what I want to do with my hair and I don't care what anyone says. And I absolutely love that. When I was working at L'Oreal, we had this, and I think I told the story, maybe not. We had this one of our models that would come and do testing for us, and
Mm,
it doesn't matter. We a lot of times, majority of the time, we were doing natural hair testing because no one's really getting relaxers now. So why are we, testing
mm,
relaxers? And so she would always want her hair blown out and flat ironed
mm,
after the test. And I mean, we're drying her hair with the product that she's like this. This is like the test. This hair.
oh,
We're like, girl, we gotta wet your hair back down. We got like we probably would have to like re-shampoo it because now we put the curly product and we can't hit it with the flat iron. There was always this thing. And
oh,
so my other coworkers, they would be like, just kind of getting upset. I understood because I'm a black
mm,
girl. However, I am comfortable with my hair. I will leave the house with my hair standing all over my head, and people be like, "Ooh, girl, your hair is so pretty. It's cute." And I'm like, "Lord, my hair looks a mess, but thank you." Uh, so So she would not go back to work. So one day I just had a conversation. I was like, you guys go ahead. Y'all go to lunch. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to suppress her hair. Okay. Because she
Mm,
does a favor by coming in here and letting us test. So I just had the conversation and she told me, she was like, because I cannot go back to work with my hair like this. They're not going to accept it.
that's so
And it
interesting.
wasn't the fact that she didn't want to go back to work with her hair like that because she didn't want them to know that she was somewhere getting her hair done. But it was
Mm,
more, she's like, when my hair is not done, I'm wearing wigs. So she
mm,
would wear wigs specifically when her natural hair wasn't done, meaning it wasn't straight, it wasn't
mm,
curly. She would say, I don't have my wig with me today, so I need to have my hair grown out. And
mm.
I could tell just by, the tone of her voice and it was really bothersome to her. And I was like, well, I think you need to get a new job because
Yeah,
why are you
yeah.
working in a place where they're not accepting you for your hair? And I was so happy I had the conversation with her. I had to give her a hug and pep talk and,
Mm,
all of that because she was in a very, very toxic environment at her
mm,
workplace where she could not come as her natural self to work. And she's like, this is the only reason why. She's like, I like coming here and testing with you guys, but I just can't
mm.
go to my workplace like that because I like, so what do you think? They're going to fire you? That she's like, I definitely would probably get like a talking to or
Oh,
question. They
wow.
might even go as far as to like pull me into HR. I'm like, she never told me where she worked at.
Oh,
Because I was like,
interesting.
I'm going to report these people to the Better Business Bureau because this is absolutely insane. So it wasn't
Mm.
really her, it was her workplace. So I feel like, again, we get that so much from other
Externally.
places and from
Yeah.
other people that we definitely don't need to do that for ourselves. And so
No.
she did agree. She was like, whenever you guys, I was like, we're not going to be able to do this every time. I apologize
Mm,
because just, the flow of the day, we don't have the time. And
mm.
we can't, if we do it for you, we have to do it for everyone, and that's not fair. So now
Yeah.
everyone's gonna come in here and gonna want their hair silk pressed because you're leaving out with your silk press.
Yeah.
But so she was like, I'll just agree to come in only when you guys are doing straight styles. And so that's what happened. And we
Um,
rarely saw her after that because we weren't, unless we were doing something that warranted a blowout, we could never test with her again. But it was because of her job. And she would come like on her lunch hour, lunch break.
oh,
Um, and yeah, so I just feel like there's still those places where you're not going to be accepted because of your natural hair type. So we just have to be more gentle with each
yeah.
other. And I think understanding why someone is wearing their hair in such a way. Like,
Yeah. But some of it is understanding and some of it is actually, it's also kind of none of our business if
mm-hmm,
somebody has decided to wear their hair straight or wear their hair natural.
mm-hmm,
Unless you're particularly close to them and therefore they're a close friend or a close family member and that relationship warrants that kind of understanding.
yeah,
If it's a stranger on the internet, on Google's internet, or a stranger
mind your business and drink your
on
water.
Instagram, yeah, continue to walk along or stroll along and leave them alone. Leave
Mind
them
your
alone.
business and drink your water.
It's like, I think that understanding the why comes from a particular type of relationship that you would have with that person,
Yeah.
that you can have that conversation. Like one of my friends, again, has her natural hair but always has it straight.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand for her, it's a convenience thing. She's like, I just don't like the length of time it takes to do my natural hair. And I kind of like to just be able to get up and go. So for
Mm-hmm.
her, it's sheerly convenience. It's not that she dislikes her natural hair. It's not that she prefers the look of straight hair. She's like, I actually don't want to have to spend X number of time doing my hair in the morning. I
Mm-hmm.
like to just get up, get ready, go to work. And
Yeah,
that is totally fine. But I'm close enough to her because we've known
to
each other
have
since we
that
were like
conversation.
12 to have
Yeah,
that conversation.
yeah,
Whereas if somebody were to say, I don't know, see her Instagram pictures and see that she's a black girl, black woman that always has her hair straight, they may make assumptions about her based
yeah.
on that.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, don't make the assumptions, don't like make the judgment. and
Yeah.
continue about your day.
Please. It bothers me so much. I some of those people I follow and I'm like, if I see another one of these videos, I will unfollow you. Because it annoys me so badly. Like, I mean, whether it's in person or on the internet,
Mm.
I feel like social media, there's so much bullying and there's so many different ways of bullying that is
People
not
are brave on.
underhanded ways of bullying where people are not perceiving it as bullying where really it is. And those videos to me are bullying because they clearly have the person, the people, you can see their faces. Sometimes you can even
Mm,
see their handle. And
mm,
people are going over to these people's pages and like saying little things in the comments and jokes and things like that. And you don't understand that stuff can tear a person down. You don't know where people are mentally. You don't
yeah.
know how that's going to affect them, their self esteem. You don't know what they're going through. Like,
Mm.
you need to just mind your business about people's hair.
No, it does, and it's interesting that people. I think sometimes people don't recognize the kind of damage that can cause, right? Because, like you said, it can damage people's self esteem. It can make them second guess themselves. It can affect their image of themselves, and it's particularly like I feel like it's really harm. The younger you are, the more
Mm-hmm.
harmful it is. So again, when
Mm-hmm.
people had, I'm sure of all people in the world, she was probably very protected from social media at the time. But when people
Mm-hmm.
had all of those opinions about Blue Ivy's hair, I'm like, she's a child.
Mm-hmm.
Why
A
do you have
baby,
such strong opinions about a
a
5 year
baby,
old's hair,
and they started when she was a
10
baby.
year old's hair? Like, why do
A
you have so
3 year
many
old's hair.
opinions?
And
She's not your child.
sometimes I wanted to go in those comments so badly and say, "This is why half of y'all don't have edges because whoever was combing your hair was too, whoever was combing your hair was too concerned about laying like as a baby. That's one of the things. Babies, children, teenagers, even because your hair follicles are still developing. It's like
Mm,
your organs.
mm,
They're still developing. They're still very fragile. They're still.
mm.
That's why when we have babies and you want to protect that, they call it the soft spot in the head because
Yes.
the brain is there because the brain is still like, developing. Your follicles are very close to your brain. So when
Mm,
you're like pulling a baby, a 3 year old baby's hair so tightly, you are ruining for life, damaging permanently those hair
mm.
follicles.
And
And y'all need to stop. Maybe a lot of people need to stop combing their heads until the kid is 5 because when
need
they
to
get
be,
adults, some of those adults, you're like, oh yeah, your mama had your ponytails too tight when you were like 3. And you
mm,
never grew edges.
yeah, and it's, but I also just think that people underestimate the power and damage of their words and their comments. But at the same time, when they're on the, again, when people are on the receiving end of it, very quick to say, oh, you shouldn't say things like that, or you shouldn't speak to people like that. But it's also like, but for what reason? Everybody is still doing it to each other. And it's only when it's done to them that somebody has a problem with it. Um, and it can cause so much damage and harm. And then you see, oh, we've spoken about this before, but when you see all of these young people now with like wigs and weaves, and again with like, or doing things that they believe look better for their hair because other people have told them so, not because that's necessarily what they want to do.
And
Um,
children have to do what their parents do.
yeah,
They don't have a choice.
they don't have a
I do
choice.
feel like little girls though, because we're always so prissy and so girly. Because we used to tie the towel around our heads and we would swing the towel over the hair. So I do understand little girls do because they always want to wear their hair straight because I think, then they can actually see the length and it's easy to
Mm,
flip their hair. Little girls are constantly flipping their hair and doing all that. But to a certain extent, these little girls are not. I literally saw this little girl must have been like 6, I
Oh,
guess some children are 6 in kindergarten, 5, 6. I don't even think she was 7. And she had these braids to the waist.
oh,
And I'm like, why? Why are her braids to the waist? Like, it's just too much. And again, you're feeding into the idea, especially teaching this little girl as a young child, that your hair at its natural length is not good enough. And mind you, well, I think I can say this because I can detect someone's natural. Her hair was not naturally to the waist. Now there are
mm,
some little girls that have hair to the
yeah,
waist, which then if you're braiding it, you have to braid the hair down to where the natural hair ends. Or
mm,
it's
mm,
gonna unravel and the natural hair is gonna be out. However, this little girl's natural hair was not to her waist, and it was just too much for a little girl. She's sitting on it, and like, you know,
mm,
freak accidents can happen with children with hair that long if it's not naturally, because and then the tension at the base, at the roots, because little
mm,
kids are doing all types of things. It's different than your natural hair being that long, but
mm.
you're like providing, like, encouraging and promoting so much tension here.
Yeah.
Little kids sit on their hair. They also chew on their hair. A lot that hair is very toxic unless they're using
Mm,
non-toxic hair. But the chewing on the hair is toxic. Like, it's just so
mm,
much that I just think it's too much for kids sometimes. And I also feel like those kids might be the kids that grow up to start doing hair policing
mm,
because of what they learned as a child. I don't
mm,
know, the hair policing thing. I know we police a lot of things, especially on social media. Sometimes when you're posting these videos, I'm like, Lord, these people, they are not gonna like me. They're gonna police me. But I just feel like we're doing too much. Like, we all have opinions, but we're not always to offer our opinion. We don't
yeah.
always share because it's just your opinion.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it right. It doesn't
It's
make it
just
wrong,
an
but it's
opinion.
your
But I mean also for people as individuals, it's then finding a way when you're on the receiving end of it, it's finding a way to move through the situation. And
okay.
some people don't feel comfortable with even addressing it. Some people do feel comfortable with like setting boundaries with people, whether it be friends or family. Um, sometimes you might have the energy to educate somebody, sometimes you don't. Is that really, that's not your responsibility to do that? Um, but I think a lot of it just stems from people needing to extend some grace and
Yes.
recognize that everybody, like, you don't have all of the information about a person, right? So it's like, instead of policing and offering your unsolicited opinion, is it an opportunity to, if you're in a position to ask a question, or be like, you know what, I don't know, but I'm gonna mind my business anyway.
I'm gonna mind my business. Interesting.
So there are just so many other options, but I think especially in the world of like online world and social media, it's almost been constructed in such a way that people are encouraged to pick each other apart.
Yeah.
um and
Right.
when people are doing it in a way where there's two consenting adults having a conversation, and sometimes people have fun with a bit of banter and ripping into each other. That's very different because both of them have chosen to behave that way.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people that just enjoy that kind of humor and that back and forth with another person. Those
Mm-hmm.
people do exist, but that
Yeah.
that is very different to somebody who's just posted something, and every person suddenly wants to tell them that
Mm-hmm.
X, Y, and Z opinion about what they've done to themselves or somebody else's hair.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, you're entitled to an opinion doesn't mean that you're entitled to blast it all over the internet and blast another person all over the internet as well. I find it very odd that people feel so comfortable doing, not odd, it makes sense because when you're online, you are a step removed from a person. So it's
People
like
think,
people will say
yeah,
things online that they would never say to somebody else's face because they wouldn't feel comfortable saying it to their face. But
exactly.
when you're on a computer or you're on your phone, there is an element of there's too many degrees of separation for people to think like that. And so they feel like, oh, I can say this because I can comfortably say this. There's no real consequence of me saying this because I don't actually have to deal with the person in reality. I deal with the virtual version of this person, which is they can comment me back, they can message,
Hmm.
but actually I don't have to respond instead of it
Yeah,
being an actual real person that they have to deal with.
yeah,
So I do feel like a lot of people need to be more considerate and kind. And like we've said, there are so many instances of people having their hair policed from outside of the community for whatever reason, whether it be for work, whether it be for sports, whether it be, at school, in the education system, it happens as well,
yep.
even within families. Like you said, when people grow up with a completely different hair type to the rest of their family, like it can happen there too, and that's somebody's everyday life.
And
So,
that, yeah, that actually created some family, I'll just say, tension.
mm, but it does.
Because yeah, it's a lot. I had a recent conversation with one of my friends. She has I think she's 13 now. Yeah, because I was like, oh my gosh, she's a teenager. Her daughter is experiencing some hair loss, and so she
Oh,
called me to kind of like give her some advice and guidance and coach her through some things. And
mm,
she's like, well, she wants me to do something. I was like, you cannot put those braids back in her hair until you guys figure
mm,
out what's going on. She's like, well, I have
mm,
to do something because she's got to go to school tomorrow. She's crying because she says everyone's
oh,
going to tease her. So it definitely happens at
mm,
the the workplace, in the school education system, and she was fearing getting teased by the other children.
mm.
So we, we know kids, they can have
It can be
very
cruel.
strong opinions. They can
It
be
can be
very cruel,
cruel.
and they really just say what they want. Like they just say whatever. They have no reservations. So I was really feeling bad because I'm like, man, I understand that if she goes back to school and her hair is not up to standard or presentable, even for herself, I was like, okay, you can't send her to school so she gets, teased by the kids.
Mm,
That's actually really bullying. And so I had the conversation, like, us as Black women, Black little girls, our hair means a lot to us.
mm,
And I don't care how many times Indy Ari sings I Am Not My Hair. Majority of us feel very strongly about our hair. Like, our hair is our biggest, greatest accessory. When our hair looks good, we can conquer the world. And when it doesn't, we go into a shell a lot of times. And so
mm,
I had to help her come up with a style to put her hair in. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, man, those little kids, policing starts at a young age.
yeah.
And if you're doing that as a parent, how is that? What are you teaching your child? They think it's okay. They don't think anything's wrong with it. And it's just a continuous cycle that we got to stop hair policing. If someone wants to wear their hair copper, you don't think it looks good on them and they love it. If they like it, I love it. And me being a hairstylist, I'm open to a lot of variations of styles and colors
Mm,
and lengths and whatever. And as long, that's like my job. My job is to give you, as the customer, the client, what you
mm,
want, to give you the confidence about yourself, help in that by styling the hair. If you feel amazing, I am absolutely head over heels. I feel amazing. But if I'm giving you something that I think you should have because this is what's appropriate to me or these are my
mm.
expectations and you don't feel good, then I failed at my job. It's
Mm.
not about me ultimately. Now, unless you're wanting to do something that's not healthy for
Yeah.
you or your hair, then
Mm.
I can still advise you. I don't have to change your mind, but I'm going to advise you to the best of my ability. But if you want, like, I had this here recently. She wanted to go platinum blonde from
Okay.
her. She's a natural level like 4. She didn't have any color in her hair or anything. Natural level 4. She wanted to go platinum blonde. But then she wanted like these orange rose goldish tips on the
Um,
ends. And she was so excited about it, and she just wanted to get it really badly. And I was like, "Are you sure?" She kept coming back, "Yes, I want this." And she's sending me pictures. I was like, "Okay, let's do it." That is not my thing. I mean, fashion colors and fashion shades, yes, but like that was a little wild for me. But I'm an artist, so I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so fun! It's gonna give me the opportunity to actually blonde out her hair, but still keep her hair healthy." Because that's my
mm,
biggest thing at the end of the day is I always want to make sure your hair is going to be healthy regardless of what I'm doing.
yeah.
And she ended up loving it, and it looked great, but it's just not my thing.
Yeah.
But she was confident, she was happy, her hair felt amazing. Like, I didn't blonde her to the point where I damaged her hair. I
Mm.
took everything that I knew. She was in there for a long time, and it ended up costing her more than she wanted to pay. But I'm like, if you're gonna do this,
Do
slow
it
and steady
properly.
wins the race. Like, I'm not gonna put 40 volume bleach in your hair to get you platinum in 1 hour.
Mm.
Like, this has to be a gradual,
Over
steady race.
time.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I was thinking, Lord, why she want this hair? But I was like, let's do it. Like, and she was so happy and confident. So I just think that we have to let people walk in their own shoes and do what's going to make them happy, feel good about themselves, bring them joy.
Mm.
Um, if you want to chop all of your hair off to a pixie, I see this a lot of times too on social media.
Mm.
People have really, really long hair. The stylist is on there showing the silk press in the process and showing the haircut, and people are in the comments, "You one of them hairstylists that just like to chop the hair off. You didn't have to go that short. You could have just cut it this little bit amount. You could have did it, had her come back every week." Like, they have so many suggestions and opinions and comments about how they should. And I'm like, the lady specifically said she wanted to chop her hair off
Cut
to a
my
pixie.
hair.
Like, why are
He
y'all?
said, cut my hair.
Please, that is her choice.
Why is that a
And it
problem?
just sometimes I mean, mind you, I'm in because the comments can be very comical and entertaining. So sometimes I'm in there with the comments as well, but I'm not about to be saying all that. And sometimes I'm watching something and I'm like, "Oh, that's not how I would have done it," or, "Oh yeah, I trusted the process and I shouldn't have." But I'm not going to comment someone's comments and say that, because there's something that I might do that people don't like, and
Yeah.
I would like the same respect for me. So
Yeah.
I
No,
don't
it's
know.
true.
Hair
It's
policing is all bad. I think you should just mind your own hair and your business and drink your water. Drink your water, so that if you're one of those people that don't expect long hair, water helps in length retention. Drink your
please
water.
mind your business, and also bear in mind that you're dealing with people at the end of the day, people with
Yes.
feelings, people who are already carrying whatever it is they're carrying. Everyone's dealing with things that we don't know about and pains that we don't know about. And some people are better at covering those than others, and you don't know what kind of pain or what kind of trigger you might release if you speak to them in that way. You don't know what they've already been through. So I do,
Mm-hmm.
again, I think a lot of it just comes down to being kind
Kind. Yeah.
versus feeling like you have, and again, it's feeling like you have the right and the authority to
Mm-hmm.
say those things to somebody and to police the way that they
Yeah.
look,
Yeah.
which you don't. Again, if they're a young person and they're a child, under the age of in eight like 18, then yeah, as the parents, you have the right, but they're the only
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
If they're your child, they're your niece, they're your nephew, yeah, you can have the opinions, you can still voice them kindly, but
Yeah.
You can tell them what to do. If they're grown people, then mind your business and think about how you're speaking to people. That's all we ask for. But I mean, we're coming up to our hour now, so for anybody who's listened all the way through, it'd be really interesting to hear what other people's experience of this has been like. Have you been the person that did the policing, whether it was purposely or accidentally? Have you been the person that's been on the receiving end of it for whatever reason, whether it be like because your hair was long, because it was a certain color, because it was straight,
Yeah.
because it was like in its natural state? One of the things that's really interesting is hearing other people's stories, and their
Mm-hmm.
experiences, and that's also how we learn from each other, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you have any stories that you want to share, then please feel free to drop them in the comments, or you can reply to our email when we send out the podcast and let us know. We can share some stuff in a future episode. But Cataanda, any other final thoughts before we wrap up?
I am revoking everyone's hair police badge. That is my final thought. Your hair police badge has been revoked. Let's leave
It's
it where it is.
withdrawn. Please, let's be kind to each other, especially in this season where it's like it's getting to the holiday season, and people are going to be looking all glammed up in very different ways. I think like it happens during these kind of celebration seasons as well.
Yeah.
Let's just remind ourselves to mind our business.
Yeah. Please mind your business. And
uh,
drink your water.
yeah. That too. But as usual, thank you to everybody who's listened from beginning to end, and those that have jumped in the middle and come in at the end. We really appreciate you. If you have enjoyed this, please like, share, comment. Also, leave us feedback and let us know what you think, or let us know what topics you'd like us to discuss in the future. Yeah, and again, we're super grateful to everybody, especially our audience has really grown in the past year. It's like tripled in size. So to all of those people that have signed up and followed us, we're super grateful to have you in our community now. So yeah, huge thank you to people who've supported us for the past 2 years that we've been doing this. It's been almost, well, it'll be 2 years in January, so by the time this comes out. So a huge thank you to everybody, and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.